Everyone was staring when the bank officer said my name twice and slid the statement across the counter. He spoke slowly, like volume could soften it. $523,000. Past due. In my name. My parents sat behind me, quiet, letting it land. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I felt the room watch me decide. The officer asked if I recognized the signature. I said nothing. I asked one question instead. Who submitted the application, and when? He checked the screen, stopped mid-sentence, and looked up at my parents. Their smiles faded as the screen. The officer's eyes stayed on the monitor, not on me. He asked for my ID again, even though he already had it. Procedure, but also delay. He was waiting for someone else to take control. My mother cleared her throat. There must be a mix-up, she said, soft and practiced. My father leaned forward. She's our daughter, he told the officer. We can handle this at home. I kept my hands flat on the marble and asked for printouts, the application, signature page, contact info, and any branch notes. He nodded and stepped behind the glass. My father's voice lowered. You didn't have to do that, he said. You're making a scene. I stared at the brochure stand by the window. People in line pretended not to listen. The security guard shifted closer. Nobody intervened. My mother touched my elbow. Let's go outside, she whispered. I didn't move. When the officer came back, he handed the papers to me, not my parents. He said the loan was submitted online, then finalized in person. The email on it wasn't mine. The phone number wasn't mine. But the mortgage was linked to my credit and my social security number. He asked if I wanted to file a fraud report. My father let out a short laugh, like the question was offensive. Fraud, he said. Come on. This is family. Family. It always showed up as a password. It never showed up as protection. The officer looked from my parents to me. I could see what he wanted, the quickest outcome. If I said family, it became private. If I said fraud, it became paperwork and time. Convenience over fairness. My mother leaned in. Just tell him it's fine, she said. We'll fix it. Don't embarrass us. I turned my head. No glare. No volume. I didn't sign this. My father's jaw tightened. You benefited from it, he said, like that closed the case. I didn't know it existed, I said. He started listing things I never asked for. Food. School. The roof over my head. He framed it like a bill, like my name belonged to him. The officer stayed neutral, but his shoulders squared. He'd heard this before. The speech where obligation becomes permission. I pointed to the branch stamp at the top of the page. Who verified identity in person? He tapped a line, banker initials, date, time. 2 months ago, 11:14 a.m. It wasn't a guess anymore. They had sat at a desk and signed my name. Then they had gone to lunch and acted normal. My mother tried to soften it. Your sister needed help, she said. It was temporary. My father didn't soften anything. And it's your duty, he said. You're the responsible one. I looked at the officer again. I want to file the fraud report, I said. He didn't celebrate or react. He nodded and asked me to step to a side desk. He explained what would happen next, a statement, a case number, a copy for my records, and a referral to the bank's fraud unit. He warned me the account might be frozen while they investigated. Behind me, my father said, this is ridiculous. My mother said, you're doing this to punish us. Neither of them asked if I was okay today. I sat down, picked up the pen, and wrote exactly what I knew, with dates and words I could prove. My mother's hand dropped from my arm like I'd burned her. My father went still, eyes wide, as if I'd broken a rule he thought only applied to me. The days after the report felt slow, but not empty. Systems move quietly. They leave trails. The bank's fraud unit called first. A calm woman asked me to confirm details I had already written down. She didn't ask how I felt. She asked for dates, devices, IP addresses, and whether I had ever shared credentials with anyone in my household. I said no. She said thank you and told me to expect written confirmation. That letter arrived 2 days later. It stated that the mortgage account was under investigation and that all collection activity was paused. My credit report would reflect a temporary note. Temporary mattered. It meant reversible. My parents didn't wait. My father left a voicemail that sounded rehearsed. He said we needed to talk privately. He said the bank was overreacting. He said families solve problems internally. My mother texted that my sister was panicking and that I should consider the timing. She added a heart emoji like a bandage. I didn't respond. Instead, I requested copies of everything. Application logs. Verification records. Camera timestamps from the branch visit. The bank complied. Not out of kindness. Out of policy. The documents showed patterns I recognized. My parents' home IP address. A device my father used for work. A branch appointment scheduled under my mother's name. A teller's note that read daughter present. I was not present. I was at work that day, confirmed by my calendar and a badge swipe. I organized the files in order and saved them twice. When my sister finally called, her voice was thin. She said she didn't know my name had been used. She said our parents told her I had agreed. She said she just needed help for a few months. She said she was overwhelmed. I listened. I asked one question. Did you sign anything with my name on it? She paused too long. They said it was already done, she said. They said you wouldn't mind. I thanked her for telling me and ended the call. The pattern wasn't new. I had been the solution for years. The flexible one. The one who could cover, fix, absorb. When my sister missed payments, I was asked to step in. When deadlines approached, my schedule was the one adjusted. I had been useful. That was the role. The fraud unit called again to clarify one point. Had I ever authorized my parents to act on my behalf? I said no. The woman noted it and said the bank would proceed accordingly. Proceed accordingly meant consequences without shouting. My father sent another message, longer this time. He said I was choosing strangers over family. He said I was ungrateful. He said the loan helped all of us because it kept the peace. He ended by saying he expected me to reconsider before things went too far. Things had already gone too far. Just not in the direction he thought. A week later, I received notice that the bank had identified unauthorized activity. They removed my name from the mortgage pending final resolution and restored my credit file. The letter used careful language, but the meaning was clear. The loan wasn't mine. My parents' number stopped appearing on my phone. I didn't celebrate. I waited. Systems take time to finish speaking. The final call came from a different department. Legal. They asked if I wished to pursue charges or limit action to account correction. I asked for a summary of options. They emailed it within the hour. I read it once. Then again. I chose the path that required the least from me and the most from the truth. Documentation would move forward. Accountability would follow policy. I would not manage the fallout. I signed the authorization and sent it back. That night, I slept without waking. The first letter went to my parents' address by certified mail. I didn't send it. The bank did. It explained, in plain terms, that the mortgage had been executed using my identity without authorization and that the matter had been referred for formal review. It requested original documents and a timeline of who was present during signing. That was the boundary. Paper crossing into record. My mother showed up at my door that evening. She stood too close to the frame, like she expected to be invited in. She said my sister hadn't slept. She said my father was furious. She said I was tearing the family apart over something that could be fixed quietly. I didn't argue. I asked her to sit and read the letter again. I watched her eyes slow at the part that listed dates and device identifiers. She said the bank didn't understand how families work. I said banks only understand consent. She asked what I wanted. The question was familiar. It had always meant what concession would restore comfort. I told her I wanted nothing. I told her I wouldn't intervene. That was when she said it. She said I owed them. She said they raised me. She said my sister needed help more than I did. She said my name was strong and could carry weight without breaking. I stood up and opened the door. The next morning, my sister texted me screenshots. Messages from our parents telling her to say less. To delete things. To remember who paid for college. The timestamps were recent. The advice was specific. She asked what she should do. I told her to keep everything and stop responding. By noon, the bank requested a sworn statement from me. It asked for one thing only. A clear declaration that I had not consented to the loan and had not authorized anyone to act for me. I signed it, notarized it, and uploaded it to the secure portal. The upload generated a receipt number. That receipt number became my anchor. 2 days later, an investigator called. He spoke slowly and asked me to confirm details already in the file. He didn't ask about feelings. He asked about access. Who had my social security number? Who had copies of my ID? Who knew my signatures well enough to imitate them? I answered each question once. When he asked if I wanted to add anything, I said yes. I said my parents had framed the loan as temporary help. I said my sister had been told I agreed. I said I had never agreed. I said I was done correcting other people's stories. He thanked me and ended the call. The shift came quietly. My father emailed, not from his usual account, but from a secondary address. He wrote that lawyers were unnecessary. He wrote that he would refinance and remove my name if I helped calm things down. He wrote that he didn't mean for it to get this serious. It had been serious the moment my name was used. I replied once. I said all communication should go through the bank's counsel. I attached the case number. I did not add a greeting. That email was forwarded. Logged. Preserved. The following week, my sister moved out of my parents' house. She didn't tell them where she was going. She told me she needed distance. She said she hadn't known how heavy it felt to be protected like that. I didn't offer advice. I listened. A notice arrived stating the mortgage would be reissued under the actual borrower's names, subject to review. Another notice stated that misrepresentation during application could trigger additional actions by the lender. I placed both letters in a folder and closed it. I didn't feel relief. I felt still. That was when I realized I wasn't waiting for permission anymore. The bank's final notice arrived on a Friday afternoon. It was brief. It confirmed the mortgage had been removed from my name and reassigned. It stated that internal controls had failed and corrective action was complete. It included a line about potential recovery proceedings against the actual borrowers. No apology. Just closure. I didn't forward it to anyone. The silence that followed was different from the silence before. It didn't ask anything of me. My parents stopped calling. When they did write, the messages were careful. Short. They avoided dates and numbers. They avoided responsibility. I didn't respond. A month later, a lien notice was filed against my parents' property. It wasn't dramatic. It was public record. It showed up the way these things do, quietly, in a database that lenders check before they smile. My sister found out when her application for an apartment stalled. She called to tell me, not to accuse me. She said she understood now how weight transfers. I told her I hoped she found a place she liked. The investigator closed the case. He emailed to say the file would remain archived. He thanked me again for being precise. Precision had been the point. I had learned that systems don't respond to anger. They respond to sequence. At work, nothing changed. I kept my schedule. I kept my routines. I stopped scanning my phone after hours. When coworkers asked about my family, I said they were fine. That answer held because it wasn't an invitation. Thanksgiving passed without a call. Christmas followed. I spent it cooking for myself, then taking a long walk. I noticed how quiet streets feel when you aren't bracing for impact. I noticed how hunger fades when it isn't emotional. In January, my father tried once more. He sent a message saying he missed me. He said families forgive. He didn't mention the loan. He didn't mention my name on paper. He didn't ask how I was. I archived the message. The consequences continued without me. The mortgage rate reset. The house went on the market. It sold lower than they expected. The gap became their problem. It stayed there. My sister and I spoke occasionally. She didn't ask me to fix anything. She asked how to do her taxes. She asked about credit reports. She asked what questions to ask before signing anything. I answered those. One afternoon, she told me she'd opened her own account. She sounded proud. I said that made sense. I didn't rebuild relationships. I didn't burn them either. I set them down. What I learned was simple. Silence isn't absence. It's selection. I selected what I would carry and what I would not. I selected records over reassurance. I selected process over performance. When my name appears now, it's clean. When my phone rings, it's someone who knows why they're calling. I sleep without rehearsing conversations that won't happen. I didn't win anything. I finished something. And in that quiet, ordinary ending, my life finally fit me.